Hello everyone! My name is Jen Ballou and I'm a twin flame located in Laguna Beach, California. First I wanted to premise with kind of sharing a little bit about the space I come from the perspective I come from. Obviously, as a twin flame, I come from having completed the twin flame journey. So I come from the space of my union. I come from the space of being a holistic healer and having gone through the process itself, the process of unification, the process of origination, the process of embodiment, and I am sharing from that space. I am a doula. I practice as a conception, birth, and postpartum doula, and I bridge all of my work that I have completed through the twin flame journey into my birth work, into the preconception realm. So I focus a lot on obviously preparing for conception, preparing to bring in these new children. So it really lines up and syncs up beautifully with the twin flame journey, because the twin flame journey is really about that bringing in that divine love, right? And embodying your union and your mission, etc., etc. And so I just want to share that is the space that I come from. I also come from, source knowing, from having done the work, from self-sourcing my union, right? This is not something that's been handed to me. I've had to self-source my union. I've had to go through the process. Of course, I have had a lot of support and assistance on, along the journey. I have worked with other healers. I have worked with others as well, other twin flames, other individuals, and I have come to this space of knowing that I have completed that, right, which came before, you could say. So I am doing this video today on the release of power and control dynamics, the release out of power and control dynamics, the you could say the release out of the matrix, the removing yourself, or completing that process, completing that stage of development of learning how to work through power and control dynamics. However you want to look at it, I am at the space now of having completed that work and moving out of power and control dynamics and into the flow, right? And into the divine flow sequence, stepping forth into the new, you could say, or the original New Earth template. There's many different ways of seeing things or expressing things, and there's a certain tone that each holds within their union. So within that scope, I want to share a little bit about that, right? A little bit about that. And in the sense of sharing that there's an opportunity here, right? There's an opportunity at this moment. There is an opportunity to shift, right? To shift out of the old way, to shift out of perhaps how you used to operate, and then to choose to move into a new, I just got a motivation quote. I get motivation quotes and it says failure is not an option. Apollo 13. I thought that was interesting. But so it's moving out of the need to use power, power and control to operate. Also, the need to or the allowance of the external power and control to choose your way, right? Rather than the next step would be embodying as a empowered individual, as a sovereign individual, as an integral individual, and making your own choice, right? And choosing your own way and choosing what comes next, not based on what is occurring external to you, not based on others' need to have control or hold power, but choosing your own way, right? Choosing your own path. And that is where we are at now. That is where many of you are at. And of course, that occurs in layers. For me, this is like a final, choice point. I've been going through this process for quite some time. And again, everything, does occur in layers. But what has been revealed to me, or what I have been witnessing, especially, just coming from the divine feminine perspective, let's say, because I have really, worked on my portion, right? My portion as a divine feminine, not saying that I'm not androgynous, not saying that I'm not in harmony with my divine masculine essence or my divine masculine energetics. Yes, I am one, right? Yes, I am divine feminine and divine masculine. However, being a woman, right? And in the sense of identifying as a woman, and being as a woman, being as a feminine, on this planet at this time, that it's very important to understand where we've been, right? Where has the divine feminine been? And taking that step toward that empowered nature, right? And so there is this choice point. And I'm just going to give an example of something that played out within my energy field, within my physical existence over the last week or so. So you can kind of start to tune into certain energetics, certain ways to shift your perspective within this journey, within your life experience. So I am a doula, right? And I do placenta encapsulation. So one of my service offerings is placenta encapsulation, and I was taught to bring in traditional Chinese medicine through the placenta encapsulation. And now I'm at the space now where I am able to pull in my system, my own healing system, my own practice into my placenta encapsulation process, right? And consciously, right? I haven't been doing it that long, so I've only had a few placenta encapsulations, but as I gain more traction, as I continue to have more clients and practice more with various aspects of my doula work, I've been able to begin to start bringing in certain aspects of my healing system into that work. So similar to how an individual would, when somebody says, oh, it's Reiki infused, it's similar to that. So I'm able to take my own energetic system and bring that in. So I had a woman who is pregnant and due at the end of August reach out to me a few days ago, saying she wanted placenta encapsulation services, and she had found me through Yelp, and I was really excited because I'm working very, very hard at attracting clients and bringing clients in, and it's not an easy process, right? Building a business, building a practice, everything that you have to build, it takes a lot of time, right? And a lot of patience and a lot of practice and everything like that. And so I was really excited because I had, sourced a client. So you could say self-sourced a client. She had reached out to me. And I've been, in order to make ends meet, you could say, if you even want to call it that, I've been contracting my services through an agency. And so I want to move away from that, right? I want to move away from needing and depending on the agency for clients and into my own ability to self-source my clients, right? Everything's a step. And so that's where I'm at. And I was really excited because I got to share with her my process. She asked me my process, and I don't think she really meant that process. You know, she meant something else, but I still was able to share that. And she's like, oh, great. You know, price. She was more focused on the price. And she's like, okay, price is great. And I knew she was focused on the price by the way she came in and she presented herself, right? That was her focal point. And so I was able to kind of, match that, right? Match that, knowing that that's the space she was coming from. And I was really excited, and I sent her an email, sharing with her, you know, what I've added on, in the sense of, you could say, more of an offering. And one of the big things is I want to be able to pull in that divine energy from, right, because I work from preconception into postpartum. So, you know, helping individuals first, you know, to reconnect to that, that love energy that they're bringing into their birth, right, and to assist them with their birth. But not only that, but also knowing that prior to birth, one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself to really assist in that birthing process is to process out, let go of anything you're holding on to, kind of work through things, come into the present moment, right? And so knowing everything I know, I'm able to bring that into each of my offerings, even something as small as placenta encapsulation. So I had just shared any energy you would like to intend to bring into the placenta encapsulation process. Please share with me, your story of meeting your beloved, meeting your partner, meeting the father of your child, share, whatever you'd like to share, I'd love to be able to connect to that and to bring that in. And I was quite impressed with myself, because I was like, there it is, right? There's that divine energy field that I was looking for. And sadly, I got a text message today from her, essentially telling me, and I'll just share it exactly as it was sent to me, because it's very, it reveals a lot. So, she says, hi, Jen, I saw my doctor today and I spoke with him in regards to the placenta encapsulation, and also spoke with my husband, and both agreed that I shouldn't do the encapsulation. I really appreciate your support and flexibility, but after considering their opinions, I'm going to cancel my request for your services. I apologize for canceling and hope you take care. And, and that's fine, right? Everybody's permitted that choice. But, it was, there was this upsetting aspect to it. Because I know certain things, right? And to me, it was something that she desired to do, right? When she reached out to me initially, and she was essentially told not to do it. Even though it's her body, her birth, right? It's not theirs. Right. And so that is very much evidence of that external power and control system. Now knowing where I'm at, I'm not going to change. I don't need to change anything, right? It's fine. That's just where she's at. That's okay, right? That's the choice she made based on listening to masculine, who likely are using fear techniques on some level. And I'm not going to assume, let's just say I'm not going to assume, but I know, right? I know how the system works. And it was disheartening to see something taken away from the divine feminine, not only taken away from her, but also that business being taken away from me by that power and control system, by that divine masculine, you could say hierarchical system, and not knowing all of the internal dynamics. That was obviously what I sensed and how I experienced it. Now that to me was a choice point, right? She chose to align to the medicalized birth, the non-empowered or the disempowered stance of that. Now, it was her choice, right? I'm honoring her choice, right? I mean, what am I going to do? Try and change her mind? No, it's not how I operate. But at the same time, I also recognize that as a disempowered choice, because it is essentially it's not self-sourced, right? It's not coming from within. It's not her own process. It's not her having done, all the research and looked into everything. Essentially, to come across placenta encapsulation, she had to have connected with something, right? Something that intrigued her, something that, told her, oh, I want to do something new, right? I want to do something that's been around in traditions and centuries, et cetera, et cetera. But instead of, honoring my own process, I'm just going to listen to what two men have to say. Right. And I'm not discounting medical advice or anything like that. That is not what I'm saying. But I have also been witness to the way that women allow themselves to essentially become disempowered. I've been there. I have experienced it. I have been in that place before, right? Now, that is just her stage of development. For her, that might have felt very empowering for her to just change her mind like that. And to come to me and say, you know what, I don't want this anymore. And I'm not going to take that away from her. I'm not going to take that away from her. That may have been empowering for her. But that is only one stage or one step, let's say. And there's more, and there's more, and there's more, and there's more. So it's important to understand that there is a constant continuous release process where you're not only, you're releasing from all power and control relationship dynamics, right? Where you are fully coming into your own unified space of existence, where you're essentially picking up some of your energy along the way and you're just continuing forth. And that is in of itself a choice point, right? And you can look at it from a multitude of different perspectives. You can say that was her empowered choice. For me, I just am based on what I know and what I can see. That was a not fully empowered choice. It was not sovereign, right? It was not her, complete union, you could say. So her unified thing. So, and this was the main thing to understand when it comes to the power and control system. It's very fear-based, right? So, and that's a very important thing to note is, and it has to do with how we process through things as well. You can change from within, and you can process things and know where different things come from in order to truly make your own empowered decision. Right. So what I have noticed very often within birthing, right, and I have had clients that have birthed in birthing centers with midwives. I have had clients birth in hospitals, and they're all beautiful, but they're all different experiences based on their previous choice points, right? And that's another thing to note is, like, it's always based on your previous choice points. So for me, when I look back at the birth of my son, like, I had this desire, but I didn't make the right choices in order to get there, right? I didn't choose the right partner. I didn't do that preconception work. I didn't recognize where he was at, right? I didn't pay attention to the signs. Yes, I wanted something, but because of the choices that I made and the system I was in, it was like each time I tried to make that choice to align to get to where I needed to get, a little bit of myself was stripped away, little by little by little, like a frog boiling slowly. So recognizing that it is that it's like reaching that level, right? Like, if you're not fully empowered from this level, from that base level, from that foundational level, and you're not going to fully release out. Like, you have to start at the bottom. You could say rock bottom. You have to start from nothing and build yourself up as a divine empowered being, human being, right? You have to build yourself up from the very bottom. And that is union. That is union. It's being free of any of those external control systems. Now, like for me personally, I was able to kind of navigate where, like when I look at when I'm working with the agency, I'm controlled in some way. I'm limited in my experience, and it drives me freaking crazy. But I also know that right now I need that, right? I need that experience. I need that income. I need all of that in order to also base my own practice off of. You could say like, oh, I don't like things done this way, but now I know how I want to do it. And it's no different than my first marriage, my first birth, my first, experience of marriage, right? It was, okay, I know that doesn't work, and I know that doesn't work, and over here I'm gonna change things, etc., etc. I know what to do, and that's a process, right? And that's what I have called the optimization process, and something that I teach others is coming into your own process and developing your own preferences, and that is how you build your union, right? And it's non-linear, and it's all happening at once, and you have various spaces and multi-dimensional systems, etc., that are all coming into one. But the main thing is that you do want to focus on leaving behind the power and control system that is fear-based. Now back to the fear-based. So something that I see within birth work, let's say, is and I'm not saying not to take certain things into account, but do your own research, right? So, and it's all on how you interpret the data, just like anything. It's your own process, your own analysis, your own understanding of what it is that you're looking at, not based on others' needs. Others need to have power. Others need to try and make you choose something so it makes them feel better, right? Now, an example would be, let's say with that woman, like I could come back to her and I can say whatever I want, right? But I'm not honoring her choice. Right? I'm not honoring her choice. Just like that choice wasn't honored with those other individuals. Now, maybe she hadn't fully made that choice yet, right? Maybe she was on the fence, and that influence of that power and control from the masculine hierarchical system that is fear-based, that is based on power and control, like it's that control of women's bodies, right? That control, that need to control another. It doesn't even have to be a woman, that need to control another, rather than allowing them to make their own decision and their own choice point, right? That you, every single piece you have to remove yourself from, wherever you are within that system. And that's key within the matrix. Wherever you are, you cannot just sit there and blame others, right? You must take accountability for your own placement within the system and remove yourself from that and create something new. Otherwise, you're just continuing on the old. And there's various ways and techniques and tools in order to do that. Okay. So, but this is necessary. And what you will often find within the Ascension or Twin Flame community or different groups, etc., and this is something to pay attention to, right? Remove yourself from these group dynamics. Are you being controlled by another because of their need to have power over your choices? And the fear-based is things like, well, if you don't, I'm just going to give, okay, so, okay, I know what the placenta encapsulation. There was a case within the last few years of a placenta encapsulation that I believe had some E. coli or some type of bacteria in it, right? So that And I don't know exactly what happened to the woman that was taking the placenta encapsulation, but I just know that there was a case of that, right? And that she got sick, right? She got sick. Or maybe the baby got sick. And it was found that it was from the placenta encapsulation. And these things do happen, and there's certain practices and certain things that a professional is supposed to be doing when they're in the process and they're doing their placenta encapsulation, right? And I don't know what exactly happened, but it's that, and you know, it's taking that process very, very seriously. You know what this is going into. And it's understanding that there's so many things that I could so many different directions I can go with. But somebody can just throw that one case at you and say, oh, it's not safe, right? You're putting your baby in danger. And that is often what I will see within birth work, is it's always you're putting your baby in danger, right? But where is that, you know, where is that allowance of that choice and of that process of the, you know, of the woman? It's like the divine feminine's process has been taken away from them, and it's all, well, power and control from the masculine side. And we need to reclaim that, right? We need to reclaim our own process, not, you know, which is feminine, which is wisdom, which is the divine feminine way, right? We need to reclaim her story, right? Her story. We must reclaim that and embody that and be that and bring that back, and begin to create that balance and that unified system within and without. And I'm not saying that, you know, men are the bad guys or anything. We are responsible as divine feminine to reclaim our union, to claim our union, to reclaim ourselves as empowered individuals who are able to make our own decisions and come to our own choice points, and also learn how to collaborate with others, learn how to be within a partnership, right? Learning how to communicate our own true desires and our own true knowings, and being able to communicate with another and receive another's, and yet that not take us off our path, but still in the allowance of and the receiving of that divine grace at times, right? And it's important to always pay attention to what space things come from. Is it coming from a space of fear? Are you being bullied into a decision, right? Or is somebody presenting information to you in a neutral way and allowing you to make your own decision? Allowing you to come to your own choice point. Are you creating a choice point? Or are you allowing everybody else external to you to make decisions for you, right? These are all things that must be tended to in order to create that unified experience as a whole human being. And to be able to be within that space with another, with your beloved, right? With your twin, with whomever it may be. And it is difficult because for so long we have allowed ourselves to manipulate. We have allowed ourselves to be manipulated. We have, especially coming from the families that we have come from. And then what do? We pass that on to the next generation because that's the only way we know. So you take some space and you take some time out and you stop fulfilling your egoic needs, and you make a higher choice point. And you say, this is going to stop. I'm going to try something new this next go around. And this is your opportunity to take that next step and move into that next stage where whatever it may be for you, that next layer, etc., etc. Now, that is where we're at with the Lion's Gate, right? This is a Lion's Gate. This is a chance to, an opportunity to shift, an opportunity to create a new choice, a higher choice that you then come into alignment with, right? To access your choice points. What are your choice points? Where do they exist? We're so unconscious to our own process. It is to become aware of your own process. Where am I allowing myself to be disempowered? Where am I allowing another to have power and control over my body and my choices? It is up to you, not anybody else, to do that. It is up to you, right? And this is twin flame union. This is the journey. This is the real journey. It's not about who is my twin and where is my twin and when is he going to show up. It's how am I going to show up as a twin flame? How am I going to serve the whole? How am I going to do my work? How am I going to step into my mission? How am I going to be the divine feminine embodiment? How am I going to be the one for my beloved? How am I going to be that which I already am on the highest levels and the deepest core levels? How am I going to be my highest potential so I can be whole and I can be complete with another, whoever that other may be? And I'm not being pulled out. And I'm not being constantly triggered. And triggers are some of the most difficult things to work with because we get mad because we don't like what other people are doing and we want to change them, right? Or we want to change our circumstances. And while that is possible through your process to ascend and to change things and to come into better spaces, certain things must come first in order to truly complete the process. So this also includes your own power to choose how to respond and how to react. Your own inner power, right? This is not about this external power and control. This is about what comes from within. And this is not about having control over another. These are all the imbalanced dynamics that hold the old matrix in place. As you begin to remove yourself and to disconnect and to not allow yourself to get pulled back into those old triggers and those old responses, you begin to be your organic self. Like who you were before you were programmed. You begin to be your highest potential. And also hold all, like fresh, clean, new, pure. And it's like, but you also are able to hold all that wisdom that you gained from having been a part of that system. Do you see how perfect it is? But you don't have to be a part of it. You can exist outside of that system. And it's interesting. It's a very interesting experience to see how everybody's just processing through their own shit. I'll give you an example. So my landlords, right? Bless their souls. They a couple weeks ago they want to redo the bathroom in my apartment, and it needs to be redone, like it does. And I'm fine with accommodating that, right? Whatever needs to happen. I'm fine with accommodating that. I'm not going to fight it, right? I'm not going to say, oh, I'm not going to give them grief. I'm not going to do any of that, right? I'm not going to. So that was first step, right? So they came, so I just said, okay, cool. Whatever you guys need, I'll do. And just watching them, right? Watching her process, like waiting for that point where something's gonna, where I'm gonna have a reaction, right? I'm just like, nope, fine, whatever's gonna happen. Now internally, I'm thinking, oh my God, now I have to, but at the same time, I've come so far that I'm just like, everything's going to be fine. Everything's gonna be fine, Jen. Everything's gonna work out the way it's meant to work out, whatever that may mean. And I'm having a million different things processed through in regards to this because there's a lot of complexity within the system, right, that could have played itself out in a multitude of different ways, right? but I'm not part of that anymore. So, so they come in to do an estimate yesterday, and, you know, like time changed like 5 different times, which is typical. And I know all this, right? I've been there. I've owned a home. I've done a renovation. I've been a landlord. Like, I've been there, right? I know how everything works. Now, I could choose to react in a certain way. I could choose to get all bent out of shape, and I could choose to express that bent out of shapeness and be a dick about it or whatever it may be. But I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to. Why? I'm just going to be at peace with that. Right? I'm going to be at peace with everything that needs to unfold. I'm just going to allow it, right? And so they came a little bit early after like time changed like 5 different occasions, and like literally like just walked into my place because I had my headphones on, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to react. Right? I wasn't prepared. My place wasn't the way I wanted it to be, my space, right? And I could feel her energies like looking everywhere, right? I could feel all that. But I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to be at peace. I'm just going to allow. I'm just going to be at peace. I'm not going to engage with anything, right? And so, but as she's processing through it, as she's sharing and talking about it, I can just, it's all this, I can feel these little pulls here and there, like, oh, we're doing this for you. No, you're not doing this for me. You're not doing this. And I'm not engaging with any of it, right? Because you're not doing this for me. You're doing this for you. This is your choice. You want to do this for your space that you own that I'm renting. Please don't say it's for me. I don't want any part in it. Whatever you got to do, you got to do, right? I don't want any part in it. I don't want any entanglement, any involvement in it whatsoever. It's not my space. Right? It's not my space. It's not my space. They're my landlords. They own the building, right? It's not my space. Not really, at least. Not really. And so, but I can feel all of this, right? And in the past, I would have probably gotten very worked up, right? I may have been able to hold it together for a certain period of time, but eventually I'm going to start purging, right, after they leave, and I'm going to start getting angry about all this stuff that I'm being thrown at me in a million different directions, and this pulls and these, you know, like trying to get at me, right? Trying to get at me, and I just, no. I'm going to stay in my peace, and I'm going to stay in my harmony, I'm going to stay in my flow, and I'm going to allow whatever needs to, you know, unfold, because there's a lot of other stuff that's going on, right? It's not just that. And that is that is the route I took, right? This go around, you could say. And I don't know how things are going to unfold. I have no power and no control in this situation. I mean, I could, if I wanted to, I could try. I could try and control things. I could try and maneuver things or move things into certain directions or put my 2 cents in or bitch and moan and complain or whatever it may be. And I'm just choosing peace and I'm choosing harmony because that's just what I'm choosing for myself. Not for anybody else, for myself, right? Because that's what I want for myself. I want a harmonious union. I want to be at one with myself. So, and that's not to say I'm perfect. I'm still learning and I'm still practicing, but that's where I'm at. So that includes your power to choose how to respond and how to react. Again, it's developing your own inner base code, your code of being, your code of living, right? Like live by your own code, right? It's that. It's your inner core. It's disengaging from that old matrix, the old 12D system, right? The old chakra system, the old hooks and all of that, and that siphoning, etc., etc. I have the choice to not allow another's choices to affect me. I have the choice to embody peace and harmony and not allow the choices, the reactions, the triggers, the powers, that whatever it may be, to not affect me. I have that right? And I'm reminded of, and that's free will, right? And that's free will. And I'm reminded of a quote by Viktor Frankl. It's the last of human freedoms to choose one's own way, right? To choose one's own attitude. It's not the exact quote, but that's what he says. That is the last of human freedoms. I've mentioned him before in my previous videos. Viktor Frankl was a Holocaust survivor, and he did a lot of work on himself afterwards to understand humanity as a, as a whole. And that is something that is very pertinent and very true. It's, you have the freedom to choose your own way. You have the freedom to choose your own attitude. You have the freedom to choose your own way of being. And that is your free will choice. And that is one of the last of human freedoms. They say free will choice is an illusion, and I can see that in a multitude of directions, but it's also a process of engaging in your free will choices, right? Are you just going to sit back and let everything happen to you, or you're going to engage? What's the experience you want? There's nothing wrong with it. You can do whatever you want. What experience do you want? What experience do you want? It's your choice. How do you want to experience this existence? Do you want to choose? Do you want to have a better experience of it? Because believe me, it is a much better experience to choose peace and harmony. It feels good in the body, right? It's not so painful. So lastly, I just wanted to... So I watch the Black Mirror series. I love it. I feel like it just is so great at revealing so many things and visualizing and displaying so many aspects of things. Being very vague here, but I love Black Mirror. And it shows humanity, and it shows how, choices and where things could go, and it's kind of, fairly future based, but just in the near future. It's not very far off, right? And it's very close to home, right? It's that feeling of, at least for me personally, I can see how close to home it is, because I'm so attuned to humanity, right? I'm so attuned to human choice and human expression and human experience, right? And they did a video, or they did a movie, right? They did a movie. It's usually it's a Netflix series, but they did a movie, and I didn't know about the movie, and I guess it was up for some Emmy Awards, and I'd seen it somewhere, that it was up for Emmy Awards, and I was like, oh, Black Mirror Bandersnatch, that's the name of the movie. It's Black Mirror Bandersnatch, and I'm like, what is this? And so I looked it up, and honestly, it wasn't that impressed with it, but the concept of it's really awesome. And for some people, it may be very enlightening. It may be very mind-opening. But for me, it's just kind of like, oh, okay, it's more of that, right? And I honestly found it a little bit boring at some point. I was just like, oh, that's it. I was expecting more, I guess, a little bit more. And just because I'm used to the Black Mirror series, and they usually don't, they usually impress. So, and this deals with this idea of power and control and free will, right? This Bandersnatch movie. And essentially it's, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but if you haven't seen it and you want to see it, maybe you don't want to listen to this, I don't know. Just putting that out there. But I'm going to not give away any spoilers, I don't think. I hope not. But the premise is that it's an interactive film, right? It's an interactive film, and you're a part of it. And it takes place in 1984. And it's this young man who had lost his mom at a very young age, probably 5 or 6 years old. 5 years old, that's right. And he's got a rocky relationship with his dad. It's weird. It's awkward. Obviously, a lot of unprocessed emotions and feelings and thoughts that, haven't been expressed. And I've been picking up on a lot of that lately, like the father aspect of the divine masculine, and I never really thought of it that way, but because I don't process through things the same way that I used to within the twin flame journey. It's much more unified process, right? It's not separating so things into different aspects. It's fluid, it's flowing. And so the the main character, the boy, he is reading this book called Bandersnatch, and Bandersnatch is like an interactive novel, right? And he wants to make it into a game, and it's 1984, and so games are really primitive, but it's all all the coding and everything that's needed. But he goes to this software company that produces these these games, that creates these games, and meets this other guy who does a bunch of games, and he's kind of famous, and you have the ability throughout the film to choose for him, right? Essentially choose for him. And eventually he starts to pick up on this external force that is choosing for him, right? Which is you. And you can choose however you want. And there's a very limited amount of choice points. It's not like crazy. They can obviously only do so much. This is a film. This is new. But, and maybe that's why it bothered me. It was so, it was so limited. It was just, yeah, whatever. But the concept is great, right? And I feel like it has the ability to really kind of open up your mind to things. But so, yeah, so you're able to choose, and then it shows you the different paths, right? And then you can go back and you can amend your choice, and you can make a different choice, and you can see where that path goes and where that path goes. And, but they all kind of lead to the same destination for the most part, the same ending for the most part. And there's only one that I found, and I don't know how many different ones I explored, because I got bored eventually, and I just stopped. I didn't feel like, maybe at some point, maybe I'll go back and make completely different choices and see if it, routes me a different way. But I don't think so, based on what I read in different articles, because I was curious, right? This is just how I process through things. I'm just my own way of doing things. So, and so I, there was only one ending that was like, this is what I did. Because eventually, like, I was like, okay, so maybe I want to allow him to make his own choice, right? I'm not going to choose anymore. I'm going to let the default choice system rule, because that's what you can do. You can choose to not engage, and you can just let the default system. And this is where I had this, you could say, a different ending than all the other ones that was happening, because I didn't like the route that it was going. And so I said, okay, I'm just going to let it flow, and I'm going to let him make his own choices in my mind, right? In my own process. And so that is what I did. And that ending was one that actually changed the ending for all of those, because it rerouted to the beginning, right? And a different choice was made in the beginning to take him on a different path, and then that stuff didn't happen. But for me, that was, semi-satisfying, because I didn't like those endings, right? And that ending was probably the best, but that is how I arrived at that ending, was by just allowing him to make his own choices. And I thought that was really interesting, because it kind of goes with what I'm sharing. The choosing, allowing others to make their own choices, right? And not saying that we're not with others, and we're not engaging with others on certain levels, but it's not in that entanglement. It's allowing things to just unfold naturally, as people just make their own choices, as you naturally make your own choices and navigate your own union experience, right? You begin to see things on a much higher level and in a much more comfortable space. And so I want to share that. And for me, that is, I feel very much where we're at right now with the Lion's Gate, the portal being open. And I invite others out there to interact with this space and to create their own choices, their own choice points, to begin to maneuver into new spaces, out of some of these old spaces. And I hope to see some of you on the other side. But lots of different stuff going on right now. Energies are just so beautiful if you're able to really, really release out of all of the disorder and everything that came before and just release out of it, you know, release off of it, however you want to work it. That said, I have completed a large portion of an offering that I have called the Way Forward, and it's this course offering that includes a lot of different things like my coaching sessions, my Sacred Light Guide quantum hypnosis sessions. It includes various webinars and things to catalyze your own process and your own work. If you feel like that's interested, I talk about choice points, I talk about alignments, how to create, right, your own matrix in order to first remove yourself out of and to then get yourself into your union, right? And this is your process. This is like your gift to yourself, right? And I teach you to create that sacred space in order to work through everything you need to work through in order to get where you need to get in order to claim your union, be on top, you could say, be ascended, be at peace, being in harmony with the whole, right? Doesn't mean that you're like in some isolated space and you can't engage with others, although if that's what you want to do, then that's all great and dandy and more power to you for that. Because sometimes we don't maybe want to be around in close vicinity to people. Maybe we want some more space. Maybe it's just like, too much or something. So whatever it may be. I am offering that, and I invite you all to take a look at that. My website's www.twinflameblessings.com. I am debating on whether or not I want to do some kind of Lionsgate activation, but I haven't gotten there yet, so just keep an eye out. I'll do a video for it to express it, but I do offer 15-minute discovery sessions if you're interested in working with me one-on-one, or if you're interested in this course, The Way Forward. It's free 15 minutes. We can chat a little bit about whether or not this is the right fit for you. But it's a great opportunity to begin to step into doing the work and getting out of the false ascension matrix, getting out of that power and control system and the external forces all trying to force you to make certain choices or to choose things for you. Or even those default choices where you're actively engaging in making your own choices, right? And having your own journey. And I hope to see some of you there in my space. So on the other side, until next time, toodaloo.